let's talk urban legends. People can lick too. And she got high on LSD and cooked the baby. The call was coming from inside the house. We've all heard it. The teenage girl babysitting for a family, and then she starts receiving these ominous phone calls from someone saying very ominous things, such as, "Have you checked on the children lately?" And when the girl calls the police, they trace the phone call, and they call her back, and they're like, "The call's coming from inside the house." So, here's the real story. Janet Christman was 13 years old when she was hired to babysit a 3-year-old boy named Gregory Romack in March of 1950. Now, before the Romacks left for their date night, or whatever it is that people did in the 1950s as a married couple, the father, Ed, showed Janet how to work his shotgun. He then placed it by the front door and told her under no circumstances is she to answer the door without turning on the porch light to make sure that she recognized the person that was at the door. It's never mentioned whether it was normal for that time in that area for the teenage babysitters to be taught how to use a shotgun before the parents left, or if Ed knew something that nobody else did. At 9:35 p.m., the local police department received a phone call from a girl screaming, "Oh my God, come quick!" before the line was cut. Now, unfortunately, this was 1950, and the technology did not exist for them to be able to trace the phone call at all. So there was nothing that they could do to clarify who the caller was. The Romacks called home sometime around 11 p.m. and nobody answered. But it did not deter them from their date night, since they did not get home until 1 a.m. When they returned home, they opened their front door, and Janet was lying there dead in a pool of blood. She had been raped and strangled to death, and signs showed that she had struggled significantly with her assailant before he was able to overpower her. So she went down with a fight. The porch light had been turned on, and the phone had been pulled out of the wall. Because the porch light was on, this suggested that Janet knew the person that had killed her and had trusted them enough to turn the porch light on, see who they were, and open the door for them. The phone had likely been pulled out of the wall to be disconnected when Janet made her one and only call to the police. The child, Gregory Romack, that Janet was babysitting, luckily was found safe asleep upstairs, none the wiser to the turmoil that had gone on downstairs. Janet's case is officially unsolved. However, Janet's family and the Romack family believe a local man named Robert Mueller may have been responsible. Robert was an old friend of Ed Romack's who had mentioned he had liked Janet. Janet also babysat for the Mueller children, and as a matter of fact, he had asked her to babysit that same night that she was babysitting for the Romacks, but Janet told him that she could not because she would be at the Romacks. So he knew where she was going to be that night. A few days before the murder, Mueller had groped Mrs. Romack, who said that he gave her the creeps, obviously. Ed Romack said that Mueller told him that he totally could have murdered Janet and just kind of forgot about it. But we'll never know because Robert Mueller died in 2006. And that is the origin of "The call's coming from inside the house."